I hear everybody lamenting there's nothing going on in sports. All-Star break longer? Come on, let's go. I need games.
Well, I mean, there's still a few little NBA stories out there. We're going to talk a little NBA today.
So let me start this. Can your career be over before it starts? I think it's possible with Joe Burrow. So as a dad, and every dad listening is going to they're going to laugh when I say this because they know it's true. The truest answer is always the shortest from your kids. The more they start ad-libbing about what happened to the cookie, what happened to the food in the refrigerator, the more they start ad-libbing, they're making stuff up. The truest answer is, I didn't do it or I did do it. So whenever I see a politician or a kid or a boss or a talk show host, cornered a little bit, give me the truth, and they extend their answer and they use words over and over, it's like because they don't have an honest answer. So Joe Burrow is winning a bunch of awards, right? And he's at these awards, the Davey O'Brien Award, and they ask him about Cincinnati. And instead of just saying, can't wait to be drafted by the Bengals, I mean, he's an Ohio kid, right? He grew up watching the Bengals. He was asked about the Bengals, and his answer, he uses the word process a lot.
This is a long process, right? And they have their process that they have to go through. And so I'm just blessed to be in the position that I'm in. If they select me, they select me.
He says, look, this is a long process. They have their process. Later in the bite, he says, it's a long process. A lot of people say a lot of things. He also has a quote, I do have some leverage. Why would leverage matter if you're going to the Bengals? Listen, Joe Burrow's smart. His dad's a coach. His dad was smart. There's 4 organizations, maybe 5, but mostly 4, that are poorly run. Washington, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Detroit. Matt Stafford's career has been affected. There is no question he would be better in a better organization. The Bengals don't have a playoff win since 1990 and Boomer Esiason. It was so long ago the team they beat, the Houston Oilers, doesn't exist. It is hard not to stumble into a playoff win, I don't know, in 2 decades. Don't you just kind of stumble into it? You get a lucky break, your schedule works out, your rival in the division has injuries. Cincinnati's poorly run. If Burrow signs, he is locked for 7 years. It's over. It's over. Drew Brees is rare. Drew Brees is one of the only quarterbacks in league history that got a reboot and turn his career around. Steve Bartkowski and Carson Palmer were both drafted by bad organizations. Steve Bartkowski came out this week. I remember him. He played at Cal. He was the good-looking, golden arm, played at Cal, went to lousy Atlanta. Atlanta at the time was lousy. It ruined his career. He said this week, he goes, I spent more time in the hospital than I actually did. He should pull an Eli Manning, said Bartkowski. I know what it's like to go to a bottom feeder. I spent more time at a hospital recuperating from injuries my first 3 years than I did throwing touchdowns. It was tough. Cincinnati's got a bad O-line. They have an 84-year-old cheap owner who acts as a GM. They have the smallest scouting department. I don't know if Zach Taylor can coach. I hope he can. I think he may be able to, but I don't know. They didn't look brilliantly coached last year, and that division has got nothing but good defenses, and Joe Burrow's going to get eaten alive. This is tough, man. This is a real decision. It's not like this in baseball. It's not like this in the NBA. If you get drafted as a quarterback in the NFL and they like you, you are trapped for 7 years. They can franchise you and transition tag you. You're trapped. It's a real decision. Carson Palmer played for the Bengals. He came on Speak for Yourself about a month ago in Miami and said this.
I mean, if you just look at the history of the organization, they've successfully been very unsuccessful throughout their entirety. So I took my stance with the organization back when I did for a reason, and I felt like it was time for me to move on.
Yeah. By the way, Joe Burrow is being coached now by Jordan Palmer, Carson Palmer's brother. So this is very real. I have said this. Tua is going to have a better career than Joe Burrow. Why? Because of where he lands. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson are going to have better careers probably than Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold because of where they land. You get trapped. This is real stuff here. It's why I believe Joe Burrow has to push back. As long as this ownership group is in place, it's a cheap franchise, it's dysfunctional, and if you look at the 4 or 5 teams that don't win playoff games in this league, they all have one thing in common: bad owners. Washington, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Detroit, bad owners. Joe Burrow, this is serious. It's time to make a tough decision. I'll say it again. I think he should pull an Elway. I think he should pull an Eli. Okay, recency bias is a very, very powerful thing. The latest thing that happens is always the worst. You go to social media, the world's ending every 15 minutes. Justin Turner plays for the Dodgers. He's a very good baseball player. He's fun to watch. He's scrappy. He's likable. He's relatable. He doesn't like that his Dodgers, he felt, got cheated by the Astros in their sign stealing. We know now the Astros did steal signs to the degree we're not quite sure, but their GM lost a job, their manager lost a job, and they lost 4 valuable draft picks. We'll see if suspensions come sooner or later. But here was Justin Turner yesterday ripping the Astros and lamenting the sport and the commissioner, Rob Madvrin, for not handing out stiffer penalties.
Talking about precedent, talking about there's never been a precedent. It's because it's never happened before. It's the first time in the game, to my knowledge, that this has happened, and he just set the precedent. He set a weak precedent. The reason every guy is in this room, the reason every guy is, working out all offseason and showing up to camp early and putting in all the time and effort is specifically for that trophy, which, by the way, is called the Commissioner's Trophy. So for him to devalue it the way he did yesterday is just tells me how out of touch he is with the players in this game. And, at this point, the only thing devaluing that trophy is that it says commissioner on it.
All right, let's settle down. Major League Baseball is going to be fine. FIFA and the World Cup have been riddled with corruption. The Olympics and the IOC have been riddled with corruption. They've never been more valuable, ever. Bidding wars for Olympics, bidding wars for the World Cup. Commercials are going for $1 million for a 30-second spot. NBC makes a fortune on the Olympics. Fox does real good on the World Cup, and if both were on the open market, there'd be bidders from almost every network. They're valuable content. Ratings will go up for baseball this year. We now have a second villain, the Yankees and the Astros. The Yankees outbid everybody for Garrett Cole. They're the evil empire. Now we have a second. Hollywood writes scripts like this. There'll be spring training records for people wanting to watch the Astros get plunked. They're villains. We now have a second villain in the sport. Revenues, relevance. Baseball has never been this relevant a week out of spring training. I've never talked this much baseball. B, what about the kids? I saw a quote here by Justin Turner. What about the kids? We're trying to inspire those kids to want to be baseball players. Yeah, I'm sure they'll all quit Little League over this. What about the kids? Don't worry about the kids. Adults can be schmucks. Kids are wonderful. I got kids, 6 of them. They're great. I'm never disappointed in my kids. I'm disappointed in my neighbors, in adults, in people I've worked with. I'm disappointed in adults on Twitter every 15 minutes. I want to strangle somebody. I'm never disappointed in kids. Kids see images all the time. Do they become porn stars because they occasionally go to Pornhub? Nah, they're kids. They figure it out. They'll handle it. Kids are fine. They see horrible images all the time by adults. And they go, ooh, creepy adult. I don't want to do that. Kids are fine. Don't worry about the sport. And C, Major League Baseball withstood the steroid era. This is a recency bias. Everything that happens now is the worst. I'm an old guy. Let me give this context. For 15 years, baseball's best players and some of their average ones were taking jobs. Guys who were AAA lifers suddenly became big leaguers, and clean guys in the big leagues lost their careers. You don't think that's worse than that? Than this? It was 15 years of it. If you go back to 1994 through about 2010, the 15-year heart of the steroid era, you know who won? The Yankees won 5 titles. You wanted to play small ball? You couldn't. You got squished. The Red Sox were cheating, 2 titles. The Texas Rangers, 3, 4, and 5 hitters were taking cattle steroids. They were winning MVPs every year, and they would have won World Series, except they couldn't get past the Red Sox and the Yankees, who had more talented cheaters. And then steroids got cleaned out. You know what happened? You could win small ball. The San Francisco Giants started winning situationally with small ball. You couldn't do that during the steroid era. The smartest people in baseball were getting trumped by cattle steroids. Now, the Kansas City Royals in the last decade won with their bullpen. You can win situationally. You can win with small ball. You can say what you want about the Astros, but they won basically through the draft. They just nailed about 6 draft picks. That you couldn't do that with the steroid era. People lost jobs. Offensive records were smashed. Series were changed. Losers became winners. And in a sport with no salary cap, who benefited? Teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rangers that were massive payroll teams, because if you gave steroids to a 240 hitter, he hits 290. But if you give steroids to a star who hits 308, he hits 350 and you can't get him out. I mean, the last time the Padres won was in the steroid era. It's not in the stealing signs era. They had Ken Caminiti and Greg Vaughn. They won. The Padres won. It could take average teams and make them great. It was affecting every stat, every game, every series, every number. Guys were hitting 58 jacks, 140 RBI, batting 340. You couldn't get him out. Guys were Superman. This is a team that did bad things. Basically, we've been stealing signs forever in baseball. They made it a little more industrial, should we say. And I don't like it. And they lost draft picks. And they should have some suspensions. And Manfred should probably find more guys. But taking away trophies? This is recency bias. The most recent controversy, the world's going to end. FIFA. World Cup's never been stronger. IOC. Olympics have never made more money. The NBA, the ratings are down. So what? If the NBA was on the open market, this network and every network would bid on it. It's good, entertaining content. Take a deep breath. The kids are okay, baseball's okay, and we got a second villain. I don't have to like everybody in sports. I don't like Floyd Mayweather, but I pay to watch him fight because I can separate art from artist. Baseball's fine. Go back to your regularly scheduled lives. All right, coming up next. Oh, Joy's going to have quite a story.
Yes, I do.
Ooh, I'm not even going to give it away. Journalism. We got ranting and journalism. Coming up next. Something I look forward to about every 6 weeks is my freely shipped. Is that a phrase? Free shipped. Would it be freely shipped? Box at Butcher Box.
Yeah, freely shipped, I think sounds right.
Yeah, it'll be my free shipping, which matters because it's heavy. Wild-caught salmon, scallops from the sea, heritage breed pork, organic free-range chicken. It's all great. Humanely raised, no antibiotics ever. It's called Butcher Box. You're on the fence, not sure. Well, do you like protein the way it's meant to be? Fresh, natural, tastes great. Right now, to make things better, on the fence, Butcher Box, join now. 2 free filet mignons for new members. Pack of bacon for new members. And $20 off your first box. ButcherBox.com/HERD. 100% grass-fed, organic, free-range meat. Okay, go to their website, all sorts of details on how to spice it up. Some of you aren't chefs. Most of you aren't Gordon Ramsay. I get it. Check it out, ButcherBox.com/herd.